saved the day last minute. You're all pretty young artistic talents, and you all have connections to this area. And I'd just like to know if you could maybe share your thoughts on what it's like just trying to get established and trying to find community in this area when you're a new emerging artist, and you know what the difficulties of being in this geography are.
Start on that one.
You need to formulate something here.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of passion. I mean, you gotta love what you're doing for sure. You know, we can bring the culture to Racine. It's just a matter of people getting out there and branching out and networking. People say there's not much going on in Racine, well then they can do something about it. I mean, we're all able to create our own community to the way we want it. So it can be hard, I mean, but you just gotta push through anything in your way if you really have the drive and the passion, the want, inspiration, motivation, whatever it takes.
I've realized that being around any kind of college or university, even a community one, really gives you a lot of opportunities to be part of a writers community or musician community. There's a lot out there, and it really helps being close to an area where there's other intellectuals, kind of feeling free to do art as an intellectual hobby, I guess. But I think that offers a lot of opportunities. So thanks for being in the area, I guess.
I think it's just kind of more finding the place. I think more often than not, at least in you know, there's different things that are opening up now. There's a open mic in Kenosha, and there's Bonk, and there's different things where the venues for different people in the community to kind of start to branch out. And I think it's going to take, you know, just kind of networking and those kinds of things and getting out there. And if there isn't something, you know, to start doing those kinds of things, starting things up and that kind of stuff. But it takes a lot of legwork and finding things and working hard and kind of, you know, knowing what you want and just going for it and throwing yourself out there, which is kind of scary sometimes, but it's just, you know, you gotta do that, so, yeah.
I guess this could go to everybody. Where do you find the inspiration for your different pieces, like one poetry, one story, one music? So I guess everybody can answer that.
I don't really have any grandiose answer. It's kind of just watching people, just like watching all of you. Like, you'll do something, just like with your hair, something that kind of starts an idea, and I can fit that into a story. You know, it could be the plot of a story, it could just be a character detail. But my story just came from, I've always wondered, like, if we keep burying people, especially Kenosha, the whole thing this is a perfect example. The whole place is a graveyard, and I don't really know where people live in Kenosha, where they're going to live in 10 years, because there's just going to be more graveyard. So that story kind of started there, and the characters developed out of that. So just weird ideas, I guess.
For me, it's like journaling out loud into music. So it's how I process life, and so anything that's going on in my life or with somebody else, like I can see like a situation with, you know, some friends of mine or anything like that, and that is what, or like even watching a movie. Like I'll be watching a movie and I'll be like, oh, you know, I should write about blah blah blah, and so it's kind of like just everything around me, kind of my day-to-day journal, kind of, is my songs, so.
Yeah, pretty much. Like what they're saying, inspiration comes from the craziest things you wouldn't expect, and you take it as it comes. I'm inspired by everything. I mean, nature is a big one. Yeah, sometimes I don't know where the writing comes from. It feels like a subconscious thing, maybe dreams. I don't know, whatever makes me put the pen to the page, I guess. Good answer.
So what poets, writers, or musicians, have inspired you growing up during your life?
Me specifically, being young, I grew up on a lot of classic literature. I liked Poe a lot, I still do. When I was younger, he was one of my main influences. As far as modern poets go, there's a poet, Ben Lerner, who is super, super phenomenal. If anyone ever gets a chance to read him, I would suggest him. He's amazing. I like a lot of different stuff. Saul Williams is a super good spoken word artist. A lot of the classics. I'll stick to classic, but
I read a lot of junk before I got to college. And then once I got to college, some of my professors introduced me to like the, contemporary fiction writers. And my biggest influence is George Saunders. He's an absurdist. So he writes about things that seem like fantasy, but really if you think about it, it could happen in some universe. And I kind of like to do that with my stories, push them to the edge, but don't really like jump off the cliff. Just get them right to that corner. I also am heavily influenced by Stuart Dybek. He's a Chicago writer. I almost forgot his name. So he writes poetry. It's prose, but the words just flow together a lot more smoothly than you would think a paragraph would. So those two combined, I guess.
Growing up, it was Alanis Morissette. I know. But like these days, so like a lot of like Damien Rice and Missy Higgins, a lot of singer-songwriters who are just really bare. Like Glenn Hansard and whatever her name is. It's a long team from Once, and like really like bare, emotion-driven musicians who kind of write from their soul. That's kind of what inspires me to write. So.
Any other questions? Thank you so much to our